does my intervention help create a change that can make a difference to both the IMC and the IMC members? Okay. And I felt that sometimes you need that little change and some stimulus to make some of these changes happen. And I thought I could be the stimulus, and that's probably why I agreed to accept and deal with this position to say, let's do something about it. How can we focus more on manufacturing companies? How do we give more to how do we focus more on manufacturing companies? How do we get the manufacturing companies to see what are the opportunities, what they need to do? And how do we see the government to see the need to look at the manufacturing company? I think Europeans will probably have a little tougher time to do this because they are an older civilization and now they're going into a zone which is difficult for them.
Mr. Mariwala, it's good to see you once again.
Thank you,
and
Mr. Bhaskar.
I thought I should first congratulate you on assuming the position of President of the IMC. The IMC is a very prestigious body.
Sure.
And you at the helm of this affair, of this organization, warranted a discussion with you on what you have been doing and what you plan to do.
So it's a great opportunity for me as well to express my views and get it in front of a larger audience. Okay.
My pleasure. One thing that has baffled me is why should an industrialist like you get into IMC?
Good question. And I think I also asked myself that question: do I want to do this? And I looked at what is going on around the country. Okay, and if you look at what does IMC do and what does IMC stand for, and what can IMC do and what can IMC stand for, and I saw maybe there's a small gap there, and I said, can I bridge it? Okay, does my intervention help create a change that can make a difference to both the IMC and the IMC members? Okay, and I felt that. Sometimes you need that little change and some stimulus to make some of these changes happen. And I thought I could be the stimulus, and that's probably why I agreed to accept and deal with this position to say, let's do something about it. And if I can make a difference, it would be an interesting mark that I can leave in this world when
a legacy.
And a legacy I can leave behind.
Yes.
Okay. So I thought that was the reason why I decided to pick it. Okay. Not only that, I think there has been a history in my family. I'm the third generation of Mariwalas that has become a president of IMC. So
wow,
that's an interesting background that I come from.
So back home again.
Yeah, it's kind of like back home again from that sense. But it's true that, you know, when IMC started and when we started as a family, we were all merchants. Okay, so that is why it was called the Indian Merchants Chamber.
Merchants Chamber.
Today, I think it has become IMC Chamber of Commerce and Industry, which is probably what merchants have metamorphed into as well across the world, okay, and across India. And most people have moved to industrialization and industry, and I think that's really where the future lies, perhaps in this country as well, and industry in every sense, okay, business and industry in every sense. So, commerce and industry is what one should be focused on, and that's what IMC should be focused on.
Exactly.
And IMC needs to move from its merchant avatar to more industry avatar. And I thought that's what I could help bridge and bring it to the fore. Okay.
Though it is also true that every industrialist who has been a merchant before is more successful in being an industrialist. That merchant banya buddhi, as we say,
always helps.
Always helps.
I think it's also a factor of the economy that you play in. Okay.
Yes.
My grandfather played in an India which was a much smaller India, okay, in size and scale. I'm playing in an India which is a much larger India, and making an impact across the globe, where in those days we did make an impact across the globe, but more as traders of commodities and products that we would ship as merchants, and not necessarily or bring in products that would sell to the Indians from parts of the world as merchants again. Okay. Whereas today we are a country that powers itself by production, by manufacturing, by knowledge power, and by the soft power that we bring to the world.
Very true. The next question obviously is, what were you doing before you became the president of IMC?
It was very simple. I was running my business. Okay.
What business was it?
So I
the audience wants to know that.
I'm involved in the natural products business. I take natural products which are agricultural raw materials, which is what we traditionally all Indians traded in. Okay, and I convert them into manufactured value-added goods that provide solutions for healthcare.
Wow. Wow. So you're with nature, you're with agriculture, and you're in industry also.
So we are an integrated business. We develop our own seed, we grow our own seed, and we develop our seed, do research in seeds that get planted. We make those seeds available to the farmers of great quality. The farmers grow it, their incomes rise. With those crops, they bring those seed for the crops to us, and we convert those into value-added products from which we take out interesting medical elements, and those medicines are used in preventive healthcare purposes.
Wow. Interesting, very interesting. Okay. Now that you're at IMC, what would your objectives be to leave a legacy behind?
So let's go to the theme I've set for the year, which is an interesting theme, as to what is IMC, what I've selected as a theme for my year, which is awakening, advocacy, awareness, alignment, and action.
Okay, the five
Five A's, right? Now, what do these 5 A's bring to the party? When I say awakening, it's all of us need to be shaken awake from at some point of time in our life, in our day or our lives, okay, or
out
the
of
periods,
complacency.
out of complacency, out of our perspectives, okay.
Yes.
Sometimes we get a rude awakening about our perspective, saying, are we holding the right perspective or something completely wrong, okay, or maybe something irrelevant to today's times, okay. We need to be awakened, okay, often enough. So one of the things that IMC should do effectively is to awaken people to say, okay, what IMC is talking about is, wow, it's something we hadn't thought about or we hadn't been woken up to, okay. Awakening brings the ability to advocate.
Yes.
Because once you're awake, you can understand that, oh, okay, this is
That
what
this
I should
is
be.
what should be done.
We should be done, and this is what we should be talking about.
Not be doing. Also, what not we
Or
should
what
not
we
be.
should not be doing.
Yes.
Okay. Advocacy brings awareness to the public in general,
Yes.
and to the wider masses. Okay.
Very true.
So awareness is the next step that we should create. Okay. Alignment of bringing people together is what we should do through this awareness, to say, can we align ourselves to this new thinking and new goal, okay, and then take action, okay, so that we achieve the change that we want to achieve, okay. So that's what I feel that IMC needed and needed to bring about as well,
Very
which is why I've set this theme as my theme for the year.
Wow, wow. And so you will be doing, all your activities will be directed towards promoting these 5 A's.
Largely speaking, I would say we should consider these 5 A's into everything we do.
Okay.
So let's say we can. It's a two-way street. Okay, there are things we do as a chamber. How can we adopt these 5 A's into our regular programs? Whether it's the way management committee operates, or whether it's the way we run our programs. Okay, how can we look at what can we do different in terms of awakening people, making them bring advocacy to the fore, or build awareness, get alignment and action in bringing about some changes, okay,
Yes.
to the way these outcomes play out.
Okay. The next question, the next issue that I would like you to address is, you are currently in very challenging, very turbulent times.
Yeah.
The global scenario is absolutely crazy.
Yeah.
Within India, we have unemployment, we have falling FDI, we have the potential, but which is not being realized. What are the policies that you think the government should be working towards, or which you would like the government to work on, to make India that much more vibrant, that stronger and progressive?
I would say, I think perhaps there is lessons to be learned from our own experiences in the last maybe 3-4 years.
Yes.
Okay. Let's look at where we have succeeded and where we have not succeeded.
Excellent.
Okay. And let's talk about why we have succeeded and why we have not succeeded. I think fundamentally, if you look at the last 2 to 3 years, I'm only focusing on 2 to 3 years.
Exactly.
It builds to the next 5
You
years.
can always talk about 20 years,
20
100
years, but that's not
immaterial,
relevant.
yes.
That's not relevant. Things change very fast.
Yes.
A 3-year back and 3-year forward is good enough time frame to look at.
And the last 2 years have been havoc for the world.
Havoc for the world. Now, I would say, I think what's happening is the world order is changing a fair bit. Okay. What people are wanting to do, work from home, for example, is a big issue that came through during COVID. Okay. Today, there are economies of the world that are continue to operate from work from home philosophies. There's a constant debate on whether we should be allowed to work from home or should everybody come back to office. It's a simple thing like that. Okay. I mean, I look at it from the point of view that, okay, for a while, India went into that honeymoon of work from home. Okay.
Yes.
But India has probably been one of the first countries to change over to go back to office. Okay. And I think it spells good for India, is my personal opinion.
I
Because
agree.
I think we get we respond to the need of what human beings are all about.
Absolutely.
Okay, human beings need social contact. They need connections. They need communication across the table.
Correct.
You need to read the body language. Okay, you need to convey that emotion effectively when you communicate
Very
to people,
true.
and that brings about change faster and quicker. Okay, so if we have to continue to change, which we all have to do, okay, and adapt, we need to be able to communicate with each other far more efficiently, and that's when you have to keep going back to work. Okay, so I think that's one example of what I'm talking about at a simple level. At a complex level, let's look at relationships between countries. Okay, what's happening between US, China, Europe, okay, the wars that are going on, the challenges that we face in shipping and transportation and logistics, the supply chains getting disrupted. These are all factors of this poor communications, poor understanding or poor acceptance of each other's viewpoints. Okay, I think one of the most important issues that we really need to work through here is, and I'm not advocating that India go back to its NAM days. I'm only
Yes.
saying India stays the path that is walking right now, which is to say what's good for India, and if it's good for India, it's good for 1.4 billion people in the world.
And 1.4 billion people becomes a catalyst for the rest of the
For the
world.
rest of the world.
Yes.
And you think about the leadership that we bring to the developing world. Okay.
Absolutely.
India is a tremendous leader. Okay. So I think we have to take that role very seriously.
Very
Which
true.
I think we are starting to see today, okay, with the likes of Jai Shankar and others who play a very active role in this whole process. I think we may not all agree with all the content that goes into it. I think largely speaking, the direction that is being set is very
And
positive,
is articulating India's point of view very effectively.
effectively. That's very important. in
That
my
is very important.
very
yes.
important, and I think we should continue that. Okay.
Yes.
That is the only way you will become a global voice. Okay,
Yes.
and a global power. Okay.
Related to that, there's one more issue that I wanted to ask you about the future, about trade and commerce, which again is which is what IMC is involved
Sure.
in. Is that the world has changed so much. Suddenly you have a weaker Europe,
Yeah.
a weakening America,
Yeah.
and a very resurgent ASEAN.
Very true. Absolutely.
So does it mean that India will have to reorient its commerce and trade with the developing world and ASEAN?
Yes and no. I would say if it's a let's look at US and Europe. Okay, what is the share of their market that we today command? They might be great partners for us as number one and number two partners in our trade, but are we the number one partner for them? Is the first question I
No,
ask.
we're not.
So if they're getting weaker, there's perhaps an opportunity for us to at least grab the number one spot. So I would not say we look away from Europe and US. I say you continue to build on Europe and US. At the same
build
time,
your share.
and build your share and get a larger lion share of the market. Okay, which is it's not that all civilizations go into a lull and then never come back. We all come back. Okay, all civilizations go through
Ups and
cycles,
downs,
ups and
yes.
downs. Okay, China did that at some point in time. We've done that in our history. Okay, all nations will. US is a younger nation by that. We are a 5,000-year-old nation. Okay, US is a 200-year-old nation.
Yes.
Right. So they have to go down at some point in time. They'll have to come back eventually, right? The resilience of their population power will determine how quickly they come back, right? I think Europeans will probably have a little tougher time to do this because they are an older civilization and now they're going into a zone which is difficult for them, and they'll find it very difficult to get out for various policies that they've had, which they thought were wise, but perhaps they now are learning that were not wise. Okay.
Very true.
So I think they might take a little longer, but they will eventually come back. So there is no point in not continuing your dominance in that market and increase your dominance. At the same time, with that learning, you can also go into Asia and build a strong position in Asia as well. Okay. Remember one thing, the reason why it took us time to build those positions in US and Europe is the fact that they were strong nations. So they had their own ways of doing things.
Correct.
Asia will have their own ways of doing things, so it's not going to be easy to penetrate those markets. The local businesses will also compete with us, okay,
Very true.
and other businesses will also want to compete with us. So it'll be an arduous journey. It's not going to be an easy one. This is probably going to be easier.
Okay, okay. And so when you look at this entire market today, there's one last question.
Yeah,
In the last 5 years, we've seen the role of the services sector has increased phenomenally in India.
yeah,
While manufacturing has not grown at the
as
same
at
pace.
the same pace. I think that's a concern I would have. Okay.
Okay.
And that's one of the things I'm trying to do here also in IMC, to say, how can we focus more on manufacturing companies? Okay. How do we give more to the, how do we focus more on manufacturing companies? How do we get the manufacturing companies to see what are the opportunities, what they need to do? And how do we see the government to see the need to look at the manufacturing companies?
Okay.
I think one of the sectors that's kind of ignored in this whole process is the medium scale of companies.
Excellent.
And I'm not talking about MSMEs, okay? I'm not talking about micro and small. Somebody else has to take care of that. I think I'm talking about medium scale, which is the Mittelstand of Germany, for example.
Yes.
Or Mittelstand in India, for example. I think those are the companies that are the most productive, most resilient, they make the most efficient use of capital, okay? And they are probably one of the most competitive businesses in the world, okay?
Very true. Very, very true.
They need tremendous amount of agility, and they need the government agility as well with them, right? Our government is not agile. It needs to get agile.
So you
for
have
these
to
companies.
educate the government policy makers
Absolutely.
also
Awakening
on
of the
how
government,
to become agile with the
advocacy with the government, okay?
Brilliant.
Awareness building with the government, getting government to align with us, okay? And then action with the government.
Brilliant.
That's
Yes.
what we should be doing. That's what IMC should be doing. Yeah.
Very, very interesting. Mr. Mariwala, I hope your plans come out right, because I am fascinated by what you're planning to do.
Thank you so much.
And if there's anyone who has to stand in the back, on the sideline and cheer, I'll be one of them.
Thank you so much. We need that, because I'm one of those who speaks black and white, and I try and say that what I think comes to my mind, and what I think is important has to be said and needs to be put together effectively. So sometimes there are not many takers for that kind of advocacy. But
Absolutely.
It helps to have
Absolutely.
cheerleaders.
But thank you very much for talking to us.
Thank you so
and
much.
to elaborate on your views. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bhaskar.